This demonstration showcases a multidisciplinary trustee data consumer scenario, combining datasets from the energy and education domains, which have been previously registered as part of trustees' distributed data sources. It demonstrates secondary use of data, where an encrypted computation is performed to obtain annual energy consumptions and solar panel contribution for schools of a specific size. The primary challenge addressed is that energy and education datasets are stored in separate systems and governed by different stakeholders, while sensitive information, for example, school characteristics, energy consumption patterns, cannot be freely shared due to GDPR and institutional policies. Trustee facilitates cross-sector data collaboration under strict governance frameworks, unlocking actionable insights for energy optimization in education facilities, while preserving data sovereignty and privacy. Trustee enables the registration of datasets from different sources. In particular, in this demo, the education dataset is assumed to have been registered by a native trustee data provider. Therefore, its source is trustee, while the energy dataset is assumed to have been registered by a Gaia-X data provider. Therefore, its source is Gaia-X. Through its Gaia-X connector, Trustee integrates Gaia-X federation services and compliance mechanisms, enabling Gaia-X participants to act as data providers within the Trustee ecosystem, without requiring Trustee data consumers to become Gaia-X members. Gaia-X data providers can register Gaia-X datasets by providing their description and metadata, following the same flow as native trustee data providers, maintaining data sovereignty. Once registered, Gaia-X datasets are made discoverable through trustees' privacy-aware search mechanisms. During the Use Data flow, when a data consumer selects a Gaia-X dataset, the Gaia-X connector is invoked to share and verify the Gaia-X credentials associated with the selected dataset against an official Gaia-X clearinghouse. This enables data consumers to seamlessly discover, select, and use datasets from both trustee and Gaia-X providers within the same privacy-preserving data consumption workflow. Furthermore, in this demo, Trustee's green approach of data consumption is showcased, including the reuse of a publicly available data consumption process. The demo is initiated with the login of the data consumer to the Trustee platform. The data consumer navigates to the Use Data page, from which they can search for datasets, fuse them, and extract results from computations. Initially, the data consumer views the steps that they need to follow in order to consume data. To initiate the Use Data flow, the data consumer must have already installed the homomorphic-enabled Data Fusion containerized service and have registered the deployment's corresponding endpoint in the Trustee platform. They can ensure that the endpoint has been registered and is active by navigating to their account page and checking the status of the data consumer endpoint. Once they have ensured that the endpoint is up and running, they can initiate the Use Data flow. As a first step, the data consumer must provide their search query, including the domains and filters that they wish to use. The Trustee platform offers two different ways that the data consumer can utilize to construct their search query. The build functionality refers to users not familiar with code style editors, while the write functionality enables the users to use a text editor for the construction of the search query, including the ability to copy and paste predefined search queries. For this demo, the data consumer constructs a search query that will request datasets from the education or energy domain, with their location is equal to Madrid and the year equal to 2023, while for the education datasets, the school name must be equal to Salesianos, and for the energy datasets, the energy type must be equal to solar. Once the data consumer has defined their search query and submits it, a search in the encrypted domain is initiated to fetch the list of available datasets that have matched their search criteria. When the list of available datasets is displayed, the data consumer can view their title, description, domain, date provided, dataset size, and how many times it has been used in previous Use Data flows. At this step, the data consumer can select the datasets that they wish to fuse. In this demo, the the data consumer selects the Education for Energy regular trustee dataset and the Energy for Education from Gaia-X dataset and submits their selection. In the next step, Trustee searches and displays the list of available computations that can be performed over the combination of these datasets. The data consumer can select their desired computation along with the columns over which the computation will be performed. In this demo, the data consumer selects the multidisciplinary correlation energy consumption per person computation, while they also select the number of students, number of staff, school hash ID, annual energy consumption, and solar panel contribution columns to perform the computation. Once ready, they can submit their selection. The next step includes the Data Privacy Impact Assessment, GDPR compliance check, and agreements signing, which the data consumer may be required to perform, following the same flow as data providers. If the PIA, GDPR, and agreements have already been performed, as it has in this demo, then the data consumer can continue to the final step. The last step provides a summary of the process, including the search query, selected datasets, and selected computation. If the data consumer are satisfied with their process, they can initiate the operation in the encrypted domain to obtain the computations the result. To ensure that the required agreements have been signed, the data consumer can navigate to the My Agreements page, from where they can view the agreements that they have signed. For instance, in this demo, the data consumer selects to view the Gaia-X agreement that they have signed to enable them to utilize the Gaia-X dataset in their computation. To view the computation result of their process, the data consumer can navigate to My Results page, from which all the completed and ongoing processes of the data consumer are showcased. Each process has a status depicting the current state of the process. The data consumer can refresh the page to receive the latest updates in their ongoing processes, including the recently performed Use Data process. Once the computation of the process is completed, its status is updated, and the data consumer can view the analysis of the result, including the search, fusion, and computation details of the performed process. The data consumer views, among others, the datasets that they have selected and the computation result, which includes a matrix, where each row contains the annual energy consumption and solar panel distributions for schools whose total size, including the students and staff, is explicitly defined. To support trustees' green approach and promote knowledge sharing within the ecosystem, the data consumer may choose to store the executed data consumption process and make it publicly available in the trustee knowledge repository. Once stored, the process becomes discoverable and accessible through the knowledge repository page, where it can be viewed and reused by other trustee users. In the final part of this demo, we assume that a second data consumer logs into Trustee and wishes to perform a similar data consumption process. After constructing and submitting their search query, Trustee checks the knowledge repository for similar, previously published processes before proceeding to perform the search in the encrypted domain. If similar processes are identified, a notification informs the data consumer that they can either proceed with their original encrypted search or follow the green path and explore existing similar processes.